What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's summertime, it's getting hot, the fishing's getting hot, and I'm going to show you how to catch a bass every single time you hit the lake this summer. So let's go ahead and talk about it. There's a... Oh God. Got it. All right, guys, we are talking soft plastics. One of the best and easiest ways to load the boat quick with numbers and with big bass. This is not just a numbers deal. I catch a ton of big fish fishing a Texas rig, wacky rig, and so I'm going to show you some of my most effective techniques for fishing offshore structure, whether that be grass, whether that be shell bed, brush piles, chunk rock, you name it. This is a great way to catch a bunch of fish. So guys, this is my most universal setup. I can catch fish on this offshore and shallow, and that is just the Texas rig stick bait. This is a Exxon Lures center stick. That's a 5-inch bait, and the majority of the time I'm just gonna have a 3/16 ounce tungsten weight with a 3/0 hook on that with a 5-inch center stick. And so one thing you'll notice is I do not peg my Texas rigs whenever I'm fishing offshore. Now I will if I'm up shallow, flipping some structure, some buck brush, pitching in and out of weeds and stuff, lily pads and stuff like that. Any precise target that I'm trying to hit, I'm gonna have it pegged. But as I'm dragging this offshore structure, I do not want a peg. I really feel like it limits the movement of the bait. So I'll show you a little bit of a demonstration. So whenever you cast it out there, the bait's gonna hit the water and the weight's gonna drop first. And so the weight's dropping to the bottom and you're gonna have that bait kind of shimmying down. It really gives the bait a lot more hang time. And I know for a fact that it helps me get more bites on those more suspended and less aggressive bass. So no peg on all of my Texas rigs unless I'm flipping up some shallow cover. But my retrieve on this, most of the time, I'm just gonna throw it out there and I'm gonna drag it until I start feeling some structure, and then I'll give it a pop. And I'm gonna do the same thing if I'm in thick grass on gunners, or like your big patches of hydrilla, milfoil, eelgrass. I'm gonna drag it until I start feeling me hang up on that grass, and I'm just gonna pop it. And what it does is that bait's gonna pop up out of the grass, and as it's falling down, a lot of times that's when the bass is just gonna annihilate it. Yeah, that feels like a pretty good one. Oh my gosh, it is. Oh crap. This is a real good one. Come here. But guys, really simple setup. I've got a Ducket 7-foot medium heavy Jacob Wheeler Series 2.0 rod with a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio, lose reel, 15-pound Berkeley Trilene 100% fluorocarbon. I'll throw this thing anywhere, but as I start getting into that deeper water, I'm gonna want a little bit heavier of a bait. So that's when I'm gonna swap to my bigger U-tail worm. This is a Exxon Blitz worm. It's an 11-inch worm. Very good bait. I catch a lot of fish. You know, as big as this bait is, you would think that it only catches big fish, but I catch a lot of keeper size, a bunch of numbers on this rig. And so this one, I've got it no peg again, and this is a 3/8 weight, and I swap between the 3/8 and the 1/2 ounce. 3/8 if I'm like less than 15 foot, but if I get over that 15 foot mark, especially throwing it off like a channel edge and dragging it up from deep up to shallow, I'm gonna drop to that 1/2 ounce. That way I can maintain that bottom contact and feel all the structure that's down there. But anyways, 3/8 or 1/2 ounce weight. I got a 5/0 trocar hook, and then the Exxon 11-inch Blitz worm. And that's the Blitz worm right there. And if I'm not throwing that one, on this same Texas rig setup, I'm gonna be throwing the 6-inch Fat Finesse plum worm, and I'll show you, let you take you a look at it. I really like that presentation on the bigger weight, 3/8 to 1/2 ounce. But one thing that's cool about these Exxon soft plastics and why I use them so much is they've all got floating tails, and they just seem a little bit heavier, like they've got a lot more salt content injected in them than other baits, so they feel a little bit heavier. So it really just helps me feel more on the bottom, as opposed to if I was throwing like a Yum Dinger or you know, what is the Strike King Ocho, something like that. I really like the Exxon plastic. Yet again, we got another simple setup, the Duckett Jacob Wheeler Series 2.0 7-foot medium heavy, same rod as I throw my Texas rig stick bait on. But anyways, it's Duckett Paradigm 7:5-to-1 gear ratio, 15-pound Berkeley Trilane fluoro, 100% fluoro. But guys, this is really simple stuff. And we can't forget the old spin piece. Super finessey approach out here on these offshore fish. And I like to always have a weighted wacky rig. And this is just a 5-inch stick bait. I've got it on like a little, I think this is a 1/0 hook, very small hook. And you can use an O-ring. I do sometimes. Right now I was out here fishing on Guntersville and I was catching a bunch of fish, and so I just threw the bait on real quick after I caught a fish. That's why I don't have the O-ring on, but I recommend using the O-ring. It helps the bait last a lot longer. But all I've got in here is just a little nail weight, and this is a 3/32 nail weight, I believe. And you don't need anything heavy unless you're fishing for some really deep fish. But all you do is you just take that nail weight and you just insert it in the head like that. Try to get it as straight as possible so it doesn't hinder the action of your bait, and voila. And that's gonna allow the head of that bait to drop down and just allow the bait in general to fall a lot quicker, because if you're fishing for deeper fish, throwing a weightless wacky rig is deathly slow and it just takes a lot of time. So if you put that little nail weight in the head, it allows you to fish a lot quicker, cover a lot more water, and ultimately boat more fish whenever they're spread out. This is a Duckett Jacob Wheeler Series 2.0 7-foot medium action. I got a Shimano reel, little mid to high gear ratio. And one thing that's important about this is I've got, I think that's 15-pound braid on there, and I run it to a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, and that allows me to get a lot more sensitivity out of the bait. And if you're fishing clear water, this is, you know, obviously the wacky rig is a finesse presentation. It allows that line to not be as visible to the fish and helps you get more bites. As the summer goes on, the water heats up. These fish are gonna be a little bit lazier. They're gonna be less reactive to moving baits. They're gonna really want that slow dragging presentation that the soft plastic gives off. And guys, I've caught a lot of fish with these techniques, and I plan to use them a lot here in the near future. But guys, very simple stuff, very easy to rig, cheap to get started on all this. And I know if you take these rigs and fish them the next time that you're out on the lake, that you will catch a lot of fish. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, hope you learned something, and I hope you catch a ton of bass this summer using these techniques. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.
A good one? I think it is.
Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. There we go. That's a solid one. On that big worm.